Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to Behind the Screens, your favorite esports and gaming talk show here at RadioUTD. My name's Hector.
I'm Hitarth.
And I'm Adi.
And we're back this week. Tomorrow, actually, is going to be Halloween. So we got a little bit of a spooky start for you here. Cyberpunk delaying once more because God knows that game is never going to come out, ever.
It's not happening. It's actually just canceled, right? That's the news?
Yeah, honestly, at this point, it wouldn't surprise me. But the general idea is, keep in mind, this is a game that's gone gold, which means CDs are being made, like, all the content within the game is done. So, they've started production of the game, and then on October 27th, they made a post saying, we have some important news to share with you, saying, today we've decided to move the release date of Cyberpunk 2077 by 21 days. The new release date is December 10th. Now, why, you may ask? This game has gone gold already. All the content is ready. The reason for this is so they can work on the Day Zero patch.
Yeah. You know what? It's all the console players' fault.
Honestly.
God. Imagine playing console nowadays.
They could have honestly put out an image that just said, Cyberpunk 2077 comes out when it comes out, man. Just wait.
Literally.
It's funny you mentioned that because that was exactly what the first trailer of the game was.
Oh yeah, that's true actually.
Oh yeah.
Because when it ended, it said a release date, and then it snarkily said when it's ready.
Jesus.
They really lived up to that.
They really have.
But even themselves don't know when it's ready.
Yep. The best thing is that I'll go for it.
No, I was just gonna say they say the reasoning is they need to work and test 9 versions of it, being the Xbox One, the Xbox X series compatibility for the Series X and S. Why are the Xbox titles so garbage? I can rant about that later, but they're so
Xbox
terrible.
Series S, Xbox Series X, Xbox SX.
I'm stumbling on my own words because they use the same 4 letters
SX
for everything.
tricky.
Welcome back to our new game show. Guess Xbox's next game console title.
The Xbox XD LMAO. Anyways, the PS4 Pro compatibility on the PS5, PC, and Stadia. So,
Well, yeah, they only have to test it for 11 things then.
Yeah, come on.
The Stadia is dead.
you know I said 9 versions, right?
Oh, well, this is awkward.
Yeah.
Make it 10.
Make it 10. It's coming out for the Nintendo DS.
Oh my god. I think my favorite thing about the Cyberpunk announcement is that it's on Twitter as well. And so I'm just looking at all these replies and it's just like, what if they kept delaying it until 2077? And then another one that says, me waiting for Cyberpunk to come out in 2077.
Yeah, of course, there was a ton of memes like, I can't wait for my grandchildren to play this game. And stuff like that. But what's a little bit more baffling about this, if you ask me, is, other than the fact that the game is gone gold and it's already started production and they're delaying it, is that up till the day before, the media account for Cyberpunk 2077 was still, interacting with the audience usual. The game is going to be coming out on whatever previous release date that they stated, I think sometime in November. And there was even one instance where some guy tweeted at the official Twitter account saying, hey, I'm going to be taking the day off work for this so I can go and play Cyberpunk. Are we sure that it's not getting delayed? This is literally the day before they revealed that it was getting delayed. The social media person said, yeah, it's not getting delayed. Go ahead and set the date. And obviously that spiraled out into a huge meme. And people were quick to question, why was it like that?
I will say, and this is firsthand from being someone that runs a full social media for a business in essence, I will say that news gets to the social media people really late. Now, I don't necessarily think that was the case for this one, but I will cut them some slack because I feel like they were probably informed the latest out of anyone.
I'm glad you mentioned that because Jason Schreier, who I believe is he's a video game reporter for Bloomberg News, reported that all of the internal team for CD Projekt Red found out the same time the public did. An internal email was sent out simultaneously.
Yeah, with that public tweet. So it's just like,
Which is just like, I can't imagine like being one of the people that's working on this game. You know, it's like, okay, it's gonna come out then. Like your social media team is working super hard at it, you know, like promoting the game as if it's gonna come out that day, and then learning the same time that the public does that essentially you've been lying to them.
See, the thing is, I wouldn't take it as a lie. The reason that
I mean,
it's
again, I'm
hard,
not blaming the social
yeah,
media.
yeah, I know. No, not even that. The thing is, like, essentially, the game industry is sadly how it is, right? Like, I think there's so many last minute changes, so many redirections of things and cutting things here, needing more testing there. And like myself and Hitarth could even like attest to this from our game lab class, right? Like there was this one section, right? And maybe I don't think Hitarth was even in this meeting. Our art team for I believe FX we're working on this one tune shader for the game for about 6 weeks now. The class is only 15 weeks, and I think they're deciding to cut it.
huh? Yeah, I was not in that meeting.
Yeah, and it just comes with the industry. I mean, that is a different example. Like you said, this one's like cutting stuff that's like testing more things. But I think for a game company of that scale, it does come off very unprofessional because it's such a large-scaled game and a AAA title.
It's so high profile, yeah.
But I mean, for me at least, and I know it's not the same for a lot of people, I'm just like, take your time with it. Come out when it comes out. I'd rather a game that works well than is super buggy. And like, I mean, maybe I'm just saying that because I'm personally not the one that's picking it up. Like, I don't think I'm actually going to pick up Cyberpunk when it comes out. But then again, I think that most like really big Cyberpunk fans are like slightly bummed out, but overall they know it's the best for the like it's the best for the game's like actual quality, but also for the testing, like QA testing and stuff, to actually be thorough and not rushed.
Yeah, but like one thing that you also have to consider is the game's marketing and its relation to the base that it's trying to like sell it to. Is obviously going to get bummed out over hearing multiple delays and, you know,
for sure.
hearing like news articles of, we talked about this a few weeks ago, that CD Projekt Red promised that they would never do crunch when it came to Cyberpunk. They have since turned back on that statement. You know, they have been doing crunch, and it looks like with this, like crunch will be continuing all the way into December.
Yeah, that's just
with,
rough.
Which is rough, yeah. And it's one of those things where the way you present the product or whatever it is you're trying to sell, this is not necessarily just limited to video games, you know. A lot of these types of things also happen with, let's say, Kickstarter, you know. People who want to make a product, they have this whole plan laid out, but they're just like, oh, but this thing came in the way. And, you know, like, obviously stuff happens. I'd rather them be like transparent with it like they are here, but, you know, like when you're like when you have it happen repeatedly, it kind of makes like a trust issue. Like, you know, like these are people that like I gave my money to. Am I actually gonna get like the product I paid for?
I agree,
like, more or less.
I think that is something, and I guess I could relate it to like when Watch Dogs 2 came out, because essentially they had a similar issue. It wasn't to this degree. I don't think any game has been to this degree, but I pre-ordered Watch Dogs 2. The game ended up getting delayed on PC, and so I canceled my pre-order and actually never ended up getting the game until like a year later.
Yeah, and by that time it had gone way down in price.
Yeah, exactly. But like, I did pre-order the game because I was excited for it. But the second that it got delayed, I started like second guessing things, and I think that's entirely what you were saying, where it's like it kind of loses trust in the quality of the product if they're delaying stuff, or it just like gives you like some second thoughts about getting the game, essentially.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's like something that happens without you even realizing.
I mean, the closest thing that like I can relate to that I've experienced, and like this is a game I actually did end up getting, is shockingly, be prepared to hear a big gasp from the other two here. It's Persona 5. Persona 5 had like a massive variant of that, where yeah, it was announced with a teaser trailer, pardon me, in 2013, and it was announced for a late 2014 release exclusively for the PS3. So fast forward to September 2014, it said that it was getting delayed, and it would also be releasing for the PS4, and it would come out in 2015. And after that, it got delayed again, and saying that it's going to be coming out to 2016. The game came out in Japan. It was promised late 2014. It came out September 15, 2016, and then international players, such as myself, would not get to play it till the year after that, which also faced multiple delays. I think it was originally slated for Valentine's Day, so that they had this whole thing with like, take your heart, play on Valentine's, and then it got delayed again.
Yeah.
So it's just like, obviously the final product ended up being great, but it's hard not to be miffed at like everything you see.
Yeah, I agree. I think, I don't know. And if you compare the two games, I know they don't have that much overlap, but they are like those games that have like enormous scale to them. And that's why I do give a hats off, even though it does come across really weird, is Bethesda having such large scale AAA titles that almost never get delayed or anything like that. And
Yeah.
those games, I think, are just because the frequency at which they come out at, and like how closed off they are to social media for like almost the majority of the game's development.
Yeah, I mean, like the classic example everybody turns to when looking at Bethesda is Fallout 4, which was their debut at E3. Everybody was hyped for it. Like the previous game to that, Fallout 3, was like quite a bit old now. All the DLC had been released for it.
Yeah.
And everybody who worked on Fallout 4's development was super tight-lipped about it. I think prior to its unveiling, there was a total of one article that existed that only stated that the game was supposed to take place in Boston. And
Yep.
so they did the reveal at E3, and then they gave a release date, which was 3 months after that presentation, and then the game came out.
Yeah. No, I think Bethesda does a great job at it too, because like you said, there's only one tweet. I think the thing is and I could go back and forth on this, but the moment that a game gets a lot of social media coverage and becomes very interactive with the public, I think that's when delays and adjustments in the game get really I wouldn't say annoying. They get very hard on the game developers, because at that point they know that either the public is expecting like to be in the know of stuff like that, or they just have to like avoid it and just not do it. But if you think about like Bethesda, they can do whatever they want. They can add delays. They can do whatever because there's nothing announced for it.
Yeah, like they're not making any like promises that they can't keep. At least as far as I'm aware. I know the only like asterisk to that has been Doom Eternal, which I did believe received a delay.
Yeah,
I don't
that
think
was at the start of COVID too. I'm pretty sure. So that was a little weird.
that one would make sense. Yeah.
Yeah, because that game, I don't know when it was slated to come out, but it came out like right beside Animal Crossing.
Yeah, it came out the same day.
Yeah.
So
there's
that's
all
the
the art.
So that's like the real question is, do you think it'd be better for games to have a whole bunch of this social media and like outlook on them before they get released, or do you think it's better if they do the Bethesda route and kind of have not too much out there, but not enough so that people know it's coming out, but then they also
I don't
have
know.
to worry about it?
I would say in between, honestly, personally. I think Bethesda is very, very out of the loop for social media coverage before the game comes out, at least. And in games like Cyberpunk, where they take the approach of being like extremely transparent, I think even though as like a consumer it's really cool, it can also be very frustrating as the consumer and the developer, because it's like now we have stuff to live up to, like expectations not only internally but from the public before the game's even out. And I think that actually, like, I guarantee you, and this is just like me guessing, that them having this social media presence delayed the game itself about 2 times more than they would have delayed it without. Just because of the announcements and then realization that they need to make alterations, but then they also have to make another announcement date. Like, if you think about it this way, probably 2 delays ago, they wouldn't have announced another a new release date as soon as they did.
Yeah, I was about to say, with more announcements they have to put out, they kind of have to be like, okay, here's like an actual new date. But then they have to really think about that date and think, well, is this actually going to be the date, or
and they keep delaying it like 20 days, like 3 weeks at a time. I would have liked them to just be out like 3 delays ago and be like, the game's going to get delayed 2 months. I'm pretty sure it actually did. I think this was the shortest delay, maybe. I don't actually know.
I can run you down the list. So the game was originally slated to come out April 16th. Then it's been delayed 3 times. It's since been delayed 3 times. First, it moved to September 17th.
Okay, so that was a good
November
one.
19th, and then now it's December 10th.
Okay, well, actually, I take it back. I take back what I said about them spacing it weird. I think that initial delay was very strong. Like, it was a very, like, okay, this game's getting delayed 4 months or whatever that is. It's more than 4 months. Well, actually, no, it's not. It's about 4 months, 4 to 5. I think that's good. I genuinely believe, and maybe I'm tripping, I think that if this game wasn't covered so much on socials, that the game actually would have came out that day. I do know that most of it was internal. I think I do think a good hefty bit of it is, though.
What, like, are you saying like the amount of like how high profile this game is like the direct cause for why it got delayed? You don't?
No, not the direct. No, there was a ton of other things. I do think it had a slight impact on it, though. Like, I think the main issue is obviously COVID definitely hit them hard, but it being released at the time it is, where it's in between a ton of generations, makes it so they have to test it on, like you said, 9 different consoles.
Yeah, it's always awkward for games to come out between like these transition periods, you know? Because I remember the original Watch Dogs had that, where it's like supposed to be the true next gen like sort of game, but it also still had to come out on PS3.
I actually think that Breath of the Wild did it pretty well, because like I mean, and maybe that's just because of how big the Switch was, or like how different it was from the Wii U, but I feel like it perfectly overshadowed the Wii U launch.
See, Breath of the Wild is a interesting case study when it comes to that, because Breath of the Wild was originally developed as a Wii U game that happened to expand into the Switch, you know, when Nintendo themselves were working on it. They're like, okay, yeah, we can also like make it for this. So, you know, they kind of got to work hand in hand, side by side, as the Switch was developing to find out how to like optimize it the best they can for that console.
Yeah, no, that makes sense.
I haven't really played Breath of the Wild, but do you feel like it feels like a Switch game, or do you feel like it feels like a Wii U game, but it's also just on the Switch?
It feels like a Switch game.
Okay, that's a good thing then. Yeah.
Because a lot of Wii U games prominently have this thing where, you know, the Wii U invented this gamepad, they got it incorporated somehow like into the game mechanics. And if you look at some like early footage of Breath of the Wild, like what little snippets they showed that, you know, like all the main gameplay was supposed to happen on the screen, and then whatever you saw on the gamepad was just supposed to be like a map that you could interact with that would give you information. And so they just decided to scrap that idea completely and, you know, just make it a normal map with a menu.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay, that's interesting.
Yeah, so Breath of the Wild is definitely like an interesting case study, and I think like it's easy to say, like, well, why didn't Watch Dogs just do as well as Breath of the Wild or whatever? That's a weird sentence. But it's important to keep in mind that when it comes to working on these next generation games, they have to get used to a new dev kit. It's like it's working with a different set of tools and a like stronger set of tools, and you need to find out how to not only like use those tools, but how to optimize them as well
Yep.
to make you looking like amazing.
Yeah,
'Cause,
it's like if you've been,
go ahead.
I don't want to cut you off, but it's like if you've been working on like, let's say Wii games this entire time, and you're so used to getting stuff, testing it on like your test like Wii's you have that are like modified or whatever that you can do stuff on, and then you're used to actually putting it on software for that, and then all of a sudden you have this new console that you have to get used to putting stuff on instead, and it's just like at that point you have to just change most of the stuff you're doing.
Yeah, I mean, what I was gonna explain is like, and that's why you see later games in a console's life cycle being like more impressive and more optimized. Like, you take Red Dead for instance, right? Compare that game, Red Dead Redemption 2 on the PS4 to initial PS4 launches, and it's like night and day optimization changes.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Like they figure out little spots where they can cut certain things, where they can add certain assets, where they can like boost performance and such, and then in that effort of boosting the performance, then they can add more high res assets to the game, and so essentially it makes, from like the user's experience, it makes the games look nicer on the same platform. I do think Breath of the Wild was an exception to that because it looks amazing and it was the first game on the Switch. But I mean, like, and this is a game I want you guys to play, but LM to me still looks like one of the best games, like visually.
Yeah.
And it's all the lighting. The lighting in that game is sick.
And honestly, that makes sense too, because it's one of like the later Switch titles.
Yeah.
So at that point, they're used to working with it, and so they can easily spend more time and stuff like that, making the game look way better than it honestly ever should be.
Yeah, because I think, like, especially at least for Nintendo IPs, that is, but Nintendo likes to make, obviously, very unique art styles.
Games.
And so
Nintendo
I think, like,
has games.
I think it's hard to really justify, like, that example, at least for Nintendo. I think if you look at other consoles, like the PlayStation and Xbox, that is a noticeable difference from the start of the life cycle of that game, that console, in the end, because I'd say most of the games that you would see that application on are like AAA, close to reality games. For instance, Last of Us, Red Dead, where they have pretty realistic graphics, whereas on the Switch, yes, you still do see that, but it's in minor things, like in Luigi's Mansion, where they have very unique and vibrant lighting and super dynamic lighting at that.
I think one of the best points to make, like, supporting what you're talking about, is look at a Call of Duty game that released early on that, like, any given console, and the last one that released for any given console.
Yeah, because those come out every year, and I think even though in my eyes a lot of them are very similar, like, you can definitely tell like a graphical increase. Is that even a word?
I think what you're trying to
Graphical
go for is
fidelity.
Did you just ask if either the words graphical or increase are words?
No. Does that make sense?
I think you mean
Graphical increase
fidelity.
makes... Yeah, I was. But could you say graphical fidelity increase, or is that too much? Is it just
graphical fidelity covers the entirety of what you're talking about.
Oh man, dude, it's too early.
But hang on, I'm actually glad that we talked about Nintendo earlier. I do want to tie that back to the initial Cyberpunk Cyberpunk conversation and
Cybercon.
about stuff. I can't speak the English language. It's early. You mentioned it. Leave me alone.
You know what it's not too early for though? Nintendo.
Deal of the week. Nope. It is actually too early for deal of the week.
It is.
We'll get to that later.
Am I allowed to speak?
Nah,
No.
I'm good.
Okay.
So moving on, Hector. Okay.
No, but I was gonna say when it comes to release dates and the way that Nintendo does it is they'll usually give a vague like year of like it coming out, and they just stick to that. They won't get any more specific. Like maybe like as they get more confident about their product, they'll say like spring 2020 it's gonna come out, and then like when they're sure, they'll like drill down on like saying okay yeah it's gonna come out on this specific date. Look forward to it.
Yeah, I agree.
And so I feel like that approach is like easier to do for companies, like especially if they have to delay a product, since they weren't given a specific date to begin with. It's easier to push that back when your consumers like aren't planning, let's say like a day off just to play your game.
Yep, that makes sense. But I guess moving forward, right before we transition to this next point, I did want to give you guys a couple highlights from the promotions that we got going on. If you did want to check out our social media pages, it's going to be at RadioUTD all across the board, whether it's Twitter, Instagram, you name it, we got it. But we got all of our virtual events coming up on there. One that you guys might like that we're going to be hosting actually tomorrow is going to be the Halloween game night on Discord. Or actually, cancel that. It's actually tonight at 9 p.m. My bad. So make sure to join in there. If you need any links to that, like I said, on our socials, we can have it there. But if you are looking to apply for next semester as well, visit radioutd.com. You can see all our applications in there, whether it's a blogger or a DJ, and we got you covered there. But let's go back into the news. Like Audie was mentioning, we do have a Nintendo Direct Mini that happened actually. You guys want to talk a little about that?
Yeah, it's funny because I can actually tie this into the last point where they opened the presentation talking about Bravely Default 2, which was Square Enix's like next JRPG. It was originally a franchise on the 3DS, and it's making its Switch debut now. And it was slated to release sometime this year in 2020. And you know they'd even given out a demo, I believe, earlier this year, sometime in spring. I don't remember the specific date. And they said that they're going to take feedback from what they learned from the demo, like from what the players experienced, and then change the game according to that. So when they talked about it here, they mentioned that they'd implemented those changes, but it did take them a little longer. So the game is getting pushed to February of next year.
Oh, so they're taking the Cyberpunk approach.
I was about to say, everything's getting delayed, man.
Yeah, but here's the
Let's go.
difference. It was never given a specific date prior to this. It was just gonna coming out like late
That's
2020. So I feel like it's easier to digest that when it's not given
I
like
agree.
a specific date, like it's like November 19th. It's coming out November 19th. Oh, by the way, it's coming out on February 22nd. Now. If you just heard, it was supposed to come out sometime at the end of 2019, but it got pushed to like early 2020. That's easier to digest.
Yeah,
That's
I
kinda
completely
weird.
agree.
That's kind of weird how being more vague about that kind of stuff is better.
It's
Well,
because it
it's
sets
'cause-
up less expectations.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's the same thing as like, and I mean myself included in this. It's like the same thing where if Nintendo announces a direct about a specific thing, and you get really hype, and the direct is pretty terrible, then you get a lot more bummed out than if they're just like, oh, here's an impromptu like direct mini like they did for this, and there's some cool stuff in it. It's the same style of video, but your
It's the same
expectations are
content,
much
yeah.
higher if you anticipate it being like a super big direct.
I was say, talking about that, Nintendo kind of conditioned viewers into that idea as well, especially with the first like Nintendo Direct Mini they had with a partner showcase. Because after a year of almost nothing, right? People were waiting for something from Nintendo, and so they started putting out these like mini directs. So
Yeah.
I think that first one was the most like, oh, well, this is different, and now we're just kind of used to it because there's already been
I
a few
agree.
at this point.
See, the thing is, I'm still not sure how much I am for that. I get the feeling like maybe their idea moving forward is we'll make a big song and dance about like our major directs, like first party titles from Nintendo, but for second and third ones we can just like throw them out there and the people will be happy.
I'm with you. I'm not like too down with this idea. All I'm just saying is that Nintendo's gotten us used to this.
Yeah,
being
I'm not
normal
ecstatic
right now.
about it either, but I do think, and I don't think this was the intention behind it, but it'll actually have this probably as a result, being that, and now that everyone's used to this format of directs, the second they switch back to the normal format, if they do, it'll get a lot of hype behind it, and it'll bring back that like, oh, it's the Nintendo Direct time because it's like an actual full Direct now. And you know all the coverage from news outlets are gonna like blast
Explode,
stuff.
yeah.
And so like I don't think that was the intention, like I said, but I do think it'll actually be beneficial for Nintendo if they do decide to go back to that after everything is slowed down a little as far as COVID regulations and such.
Yeah. I mean, I want to keep talking about the director in a second, but I guess like the final point that I'll put in is I would rather have like a super like long direct that shows like all the stuff they have to offer, like highlighting like partner stuff, their own personal projects, because it kind of creates this like I almost want to say like an experience where it's just like you see like the full like wealth of stuff that they have to offer, like all within one thing, you know. And
So-
it's just like, oh, that looks cool, but that also, oh, well, I guess they might have split it up because it might have been too overwhelming, maybe.
Would you prefer one direct per quarter or like smaller directs every month?
Okay, so I'm gonna answer this with a little bit of an asterisk. I'm gonna assume that if you're having directs every quarter, you're gonna have enough stuff put within that direct to carry you all the way to next quarter.
Yep.
And within the next direct instead of in that case, yeah, I think I would prefer that because like seeing everything ahead of time lets me know like what I'm interested in and what I'm gonna buy, so I can like have my own things set up. Like, okay, I'm gonna get this game for this month because that's what looked the most interesting to me, you know.
Yeah. No, I completely agree. I mean, I'd say I agree as a consumer, but I know that as like a stakeholder / be a partner of Nintendo, you would not want that, right? Like, I think take it how they've released games where they're like, okay, the game comes out in 2 weeks, 3 weeks. That would, I think it works well with them, and I think that whole like delay thing would become an issue if they decided to release games at quarters. Like if they announce stuff at quarters and they're like, okay, the game's coming out in 2 months, because then I think it would have a similar Cyberpunk delay type thing. And I mean, maybe I'm wrong. I haven't seen any IP from Nintendo get delayed besides, well, maybe I feel like I'm wrong. Oh yeah, you're right.
Well, I guess delayed is the technically incorrect term when it
Because
comes
that
to
never had
software.
an. Oh yeah,
Never
I
had
guess
a-
I think it did though. I think it was like 2021 or something like that.
Yeah. See, like, that just made me think about something else. And again, I would love to hop back on this track. And I guess I can tie this in. No More Heroes 3 was the other, like, really big announcement. Like, saying, you know, it still exists. It's still, like, coming out, like, just showing, like, little snippets and what, like, the game is about. I don't think they showed, like, 2 or 3 seconds of gameplay. But the main thing that they showed out of that was, instead of saying like, oh, No More Heroes 3 is coming out around this time, they are just showing off ports that No More Heroes 1 and 2 from the Wii are getting released on the Switch.
Yeah.
So like, it's like an acknowledgement of saying like, oh, you know, yeah, we're still working on this game, stuff is still happening, like here's a little bit of information. We don't have anything like a concrete release date for you yet, but here's something to keep you occupied in the meantime.
Yeah, that makes sense. I think I've not been too invested in that genre of games, so I don't really know too much about it, but I do know that it has been a game that and Bravely Default 2 that have been like highly anticipated, yet also kind of missing from a lot of these directs. So I'm glad that those fans were able to at least have some sign of hope.
I'm glad you talked about stuff that's missing from Directs, because I would like to take a moment to talk about Bayonetta 3 again.
Oh
The
my
only
god.
information we've gotten about that game was in the initial Switch reveal in 2017. It has been over 1,000 days since we know anything about that game. And this is where, like, I see, like, the other side of the coin, where it's just like, I'm not personally a Bayonetta fan, but I can only imagine how aggravated those fans are not hearing anything for 3 years. Like, maybe, like, some signs of life, like a screenshot, or hey, maybe this is what Bayonetta looks like in the new game. Here's, like, a weapon design or something, some concept art, maybe some music. Anything would be better than perfect silence.
All legal.
They're taking
Oh,
the Elder Scrolls approach.
And it's just like,
But that's the
I'm sure,
thing.
like,
I think Nintendo fans, and I mean, I'd say Nintendo fans overlap with Bayonetta fans, but whatchamacallit, I think that it's very expected in the Nintendo realm of games to have release dates / have updates and stuff like that, and not have four years of silence. But if you think about fans for that, then also think about the fans for whatchamacallit, what's that game called? Elder Scrolls. Sorry, I almost forgot because it's been so long. It's been
yeah,
so
I'm pretty
long.
sure Elder Scrolls fans have said the same thing.
Yeah,
Like-
hey, at least they took the vague approach. They're like, hey, no actual date, now in development for Switch, and that's it. And then 3 years.
Elder Scrolls 6 teaser.
Was it 2016 when they showed that off, or 20? Or
No, I
2017?
actually think it was like much later.
Okay, I might just be like hallucinating how bad it was, but it must be rough to be an Elder Scrolls fan. But like, I don't know, like this year has been really weird for me when it
It
comes
was
to Nintendo,
2018.
right? And really quickly, I guess to talk about the direct at the end of it, it was just a few more like indie games, like nothing that like stuck out to me like off the top of my head, but they closed it off with a new game from HAL Laboratory, which is the people that made Kirby, being Part-Time UFO. It looks cute, like not much to it, but it's not something I pay like full price for. And then Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity coming out, or not coming out, coming out with a demo, like where you can play the entire first chapter. And you know, that seems interesting. I should definitely still need to give that a shot. But Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity comes out November 20th. Sorry, my bad. And then this is the reason why I'm like a bit iffy when it comes to Nintendo for this year, because they announced that they're going to be releasing Fire Emblem, Shadow Dragon, and the Blade of Light, which is the first Fire Emblem game that the international audiences never saw. It was released for the NES back in who knows how long ago, but we here in the States and everywhere else didn't get it. It was only in Japan. And they're going to be releasing it December 4th. Here's the thing. It's also limited time release, like 3D All-Stars.
Hell yeah.
Hell no.
Hop on the train, baby.
Oh my god.
And this one in particular is a little bit jarring for me because, like, to give a little bit of background on it, this is a really old game. It's not like some new piece of content or like, you know, a compilation like 3D All Stars was. It's English translated, sure, but what does that really mean when we're talking about an NES game? Like, how much, realistically, like, how much translation is there in like a game that's like that small? And it's limited time. It already had a release in Japan because, you know, it already exists in Japan, so it was nothing special for them. As part of the Nintendo Online thing where you get access to a bunch of retro games. So they already got it with their online subscription. And here, they're releasing it separately for about $6-7. And there's also like a special edition where you can get like a physical cartridge, and that's 50.
What? Yeah, that's why Fire Emblem's.
Person who plays Fire Emblem? I'm inclined to agree.
Person who barely plays it? Of course.
Guys, you know what doesn't suck though?
What?
Some banger deal of the weeks. This time around, Audie found one that I think you guys might enjoy. For any of you looking to upgrade your peripherals for PC gaming, or if you're for some reason connecting a mouse and keyboard to an Xbox and sweating on Fortnite for some reason, I think we got you covered. $130, kind of pricey, but if you look at what's included in the bundle, it's no short of an amazing deal. You get the Arctis Wireless One headset. I personally have them, and I love them so much. As well as I believe the Apex 3 keyboard and a wireless mouse with a mouse pad as well. All SteelSeries products, 2 of which are wireless. I guess 3 if you count the mouse pad.
Okay, hang on, really quickly. We meme about that, but there are absolutely mouse pads that have lights attached to them now. So that's totally
Yeah,
like
so
Wired mouse pad.
but yeah, huge bundle for $130. The headset alone retails for about $100. I would assume the keyboard itself is also about $100, and so just an amazing deal for those of you, like I said, that are looking to maybe change it up this holiday season. So check it out. It's gonna be at Best Buy, $130, and not quite sure when the deal ends, so make sure to grab it when you can. But Hitarth, we're back this week again with the speedrunning corner. What you got for us?
2 weeks in a row. You already know. Spooky,
Wait, is it rap
spooky
season
Halloween. Yeah. It's that time of the year, spooky season. Sadly enough, not enough scary games are getting run. A few of them, not that popular. I guess the most we can talk about for that is Resident Evil 2, but I don't even know if that's a scary game. I don't know much about them.
Yeah, Resident Evil 2, survival horror game.
Okay, so like that's like one of the only ones that's up there. That's a scary game, unless you like think Cooking Mama 2 Dinner with Friends is scary. But honestly, I think I do.
scary.
You know.
I'm petrified. You think I know how to cook? I'm gonna burn down an entire kitchen.
But we're going to look at the top 5. I can't find it.
You
The
sound
top
very
5
sure of this.
games. I couldn't find my notepad. The top 5 games that are fairly active, I'd say in the top 10 for most active players, that are games that have yet to die.
So what's the difference between this and last week for me?
No, that's the same question.
No. So here's the thing. We're gonna look at the games on here in the top 10 that are the oldest games on this list.
The oldest games.
The oldest
so that's
games.
what you mean. They like literally refuse to die.
They literally
They're
refuse
so-
to die because they are in the top 10 for how many runs they have, the most amount of runs, the top 10 with how many runs they have, but they are really old compared to everything else. But
I'm done for.
What do you define as really old? Like
So
older than 10 years, 15 years?
So I'm talking the oldest one I have. Here's your first hint. The oldest one we have is 1985, and then the 5th oldest is 1996. So that time period.
Can I guess the 5th? I'll
You wanna
I'll start us off.
Yep.
It's gonna be Doom for the PC.
Nope.
Okay,
Nope.
I'm sorry, Eddie. We're
Sorry.
done for.
Well,
That's
give
all
you-
I
I will
know.
give
That's the
you
oldest
a-
game I know, dude. I'm a Zoomer Thumer. What do you expect
will-
from me?
No. I will give you a big hint on the majority of these. They are Nintendo games.
yeah, I was about to say one of them is definitely the original Mario Brothers.
Audie is right on that one. Coming at number 1 out of the 5 on the list.
Wait,
The
I
game
guessed that
has-
last time. Why didn't I guess it this time? I'm so stupid.
I don't know. You had it on your mind last time. But Super Mario Bros. 1985 game is the 10th out of
Actually,
the
really,
top 10.
1985?
It is for games
That's
that have the most amount of
crazy.
runs. Currently sitting at 6,296 runs, and I would say this game is still pretty active because we are still getting times in the top 15, top 10 placements. Even
Wait.
the world record time was this year and a few months ago. as
Jeez.
well.
Are you saying that this is number 1 on your list, but 10 on the overall list?
This is number 10. out of the games that have the most amount
runs.
of runs.
Okay.
But this is the number 1 on the list of the games that won't die because it is the oldest out of these 5.
Okay.
So Audie got the
Alright.
first one. 1 point to
alright,
him.
cool.
We
It,
got
Let's
it
4
has
more
to be
games.
like Super Mario Bros. 3 or something like that, or Super
or
Mario.
Or Super Mario Land, which is
World.
the SNES one, right? Yeah.
No, Hector's got it on the money. Coming at number 2,
Oh, really?
Super Mario
so
World.
good.
He is. He's actually crazy good at this. Super Mario World on this list is, I believe, if I can look at it, coming in a little right after Mario Bros. Number 8 on the list with how many runs it has, sitting at 7,117 runs.
What else is a really speedrun? You're gonna have to start giving
With
me hints,
times
I'm gonna be
2
honest.
months ago. All right, I'm gonna give you all
Yeah,
a little
we're-
more hints.
we're
Make
out
this
of
a
the
little
loop.
easier. Y'all got number 1 and 2 though out of the list. That's a 1990 game, by the way. 5 years after Mario Bros. All
Okay.
right, let's give you a hint. So, each of these now are games that have different characters in them. I'll give you a hint
Wait,
to
Do we have any more Mario
Wait,
games?
wait. The Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time.
Oh, you're really close. That's a really close guess. Sadly, that's not on the list of the top 5
Dang
in
it.
my list, but that is number 8. Number 8, 6, 7, yeah. Number 8 on the list of games with runs, sitting right after Mario World with 7,273 runs. But sadly, this is a 1998 game. But you're on the right track. So there's one Zelda game, there's
Link
one
to the
Mario
Past.
game. Link to the Past. Audie's got it right on the money.
Nice.
Legend of Zelda: Link to the Past, sitting right after Mario World, 6,572 runs, in between Mario Bros. And Mario World, getting times still within this year, 8 months, 9 months ago on the list. A
All right.
1991 game.
Last 2. You gotta give us a
Last
hint.
2. Just quick fire. One of them's a Mario game. You guys know it.
No, I don't.
You guys have both played it within the past month.
Mario Odyssey.
Oh, Super Mario 64. Duh.
Oh.
He's got it on the money. Super Mario 64, sitting at number 5 on this list.
Mario Odyssey.
Which one of y'all played that in the last month? But 1996 Super
Well,
Mario
I
64,
definitely haven't played
the
64.
number 1 game that has the most runs currently, sitting at 18,657
Alright,
runs.
what's the last one? Hit us with it. We're on fire right now.
We're on fire, on fire. So you're not gonna get this one. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Oh,
right.
that's
It's,
It's not
great.
Mario.
Tetris.
It's not Zelda. It's a little off the charts. I think Phil has talked about this.
It's Metroid.
He would enjoy this. Hector's got it on the money.
I know
Let's go, dude!
Super Metroid sitting at
I'm
number
so good
5
at
on the
this.
list with 8,356 runs. Is a
We're actually nuts.
1994 game, number 4 on the list. But these games all have times within the past this year, few months. Even the world record time, Super Metroid world record 6 months ago, first place for any percent. Super Mario 64 for N64 120-star world record 5 months ago. Like, these are still recent games, and they are ones that refuse to die.
That's crazy.
But
Those games
sitting
came out
at-
so long ago, and they're still getting like runs.
But
Yeah.
since this is a game show and I'm the host, Audie took it. Hector guessed 2 of them. Audie was able to guess 3. Audie wins this round this week.
Man.
Let's go.
Congratulations. I am impressed. I will give
Mario
you props
carried
that-
me.
I will
Yeah,
give
this
you
man
props
guessed
that you were
every
able to
Mario
guess.
game.
Well, you guessed Super Mario World, so.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
Yeah, but you guessed
No, I guess-
Metroid, and I didn't think y'all would actually get that one. So that was
Well,
impressive.
when you're a god gamer like myself, it's pretty simple.
When you mentioned Phil, my first
Yeah.
thing that I thought it was Metroid.
Yeah, my brain
that was
just
a good
went
idea.
zooming.
That was a good hint. That was a good hint to give. But these are in the top 10. Can you believe that?
That's
That is
crazy.
funny. Crazy.
Active games, and most of these are Nintendo games. They're popping off, you know. But
Facts.
speaking of popping off, I don't mean to cut anyone off, but it's new music time again this week. We've got 3 new music coming up. I wrote them down. I did. Thank you. It's going to be Lavender by Vacations from their album Forever in Bloom. Their music is dance pop and it sounds nice and mellow. So I hope you guys enjoy that one. And then the 2 after that, I love this person. It's going to be Is This a Drug and Cash Out by Sundressed from their album Home Remedy again. Once again, their music is a mix of rock and pop punk. They're basically emo rock music, but their guitar playing is so good. So you guys have to listen into those.
Alright, that sounds good. That's all the time that we have this week. Happy Halloween, everybody. If you're gonna go outside, please wear a mask, please stay safe, and we'll see you guys later.
Take
Goodbye.
it easy.
Peace, guys.